In our second video here, we will talk about the dictionary of the classes, and before starting with the dictionary of the classes and the static verification, these two things, we will talk a little about why is decimal system popular. It looks a very innocent kind of question, but it's not innocent question. We discuss about the zero, Aryabhatta, Brahmagupta. We talk about the decimal system, which is called as the Indo-Arabic number system. One thing that we discuss is the Indians made the system, and then Arabic businessmen carried it to Europe, and before Fibonacci in 1138 first popularized it, and until 1547 it was not very much popular in Europe. We know this kind of history, but in Sanjoy Nath'S Qhenomenology, reasoning systems analysis, and Phenomenology, reasoning systems analysis, we don't discuss in this line of reasoning. We discuss why a concept is constructed in mankind from the ancient time to now. What is the successor functions that works like the piano arithmetic on the concepts? If we consider the concepts as the objects, and one concept is constructed after another concept, and another concept is constructed after that concept, in this way we think why these concepts are coming, why these concepts are constructed from the previous concepts, how the social and cultural systems actually construct a concept one after another, then another concept after another, then another concept after another, why and how these concepts are constructed. These are the inquiries we do in the phenomenology reasoning system. And the phenomenology reasoning system talks about and thinks about the whenness. One is the cuteness of concept construction. I repeat, concept construction in the mankind, not in any religion, not in any region, not in any language. Whatever the religion is, whatever the region is, whatever the language is. When a sense or perception or a need is generated in a mankind's system, it's just a chemical locha. There is a chemical reactions happening inside the body. Mind is also a chemical reaction. Consciousness is also a chemical reaction. If consciousness is not the chemical reaction, then when chemical reaction stops, why consciousness stops? When a chemical reaction starts, a consciousness starts. Why, after taking 30 bottles of 750 milliliter of the pure alcohol, the consciousness vanish? If consciousness is not the chemical reaction, then why the consciousness is disturbed due to the chemical actions on the body? Ultimately, Sanjoy Nath'S Qhenomenology reasoning system considers everything as a RLC circuit like kind of thing, that is a resistor, inductor, capacitor and chemical reactor kind of system, which has its own grammar of aesthetics also, of beauty, of senses of the beauties, and everything are the chemical logic. The thing starts here, and it's a purely objective thing. 3 plus 3 is equal to 6 means 3 plus equal to 3. 3 plus 3 equal to 6. 3 plus 3 is not equal to 361 or this kind of things. Everything is chemical locha, and there are 16 types of geometric configuration on 2D affine spaces for every real number. This looks little bit odd, but there are proofs where you will find that there are multi-possibility spaces, all are equally valid, all are equally possible. Which one you will choose depends upon the scenarios in the context, and the mathematical definition of the scenarios, mathematical definition of the contexts are all discussed in the phenomenology reasoning system. Now, everything is objective and human being is also objective. Human emotions are also chemical locha. Human views, point of views are all chemical locha. Different kind of chemical locha does the dynamic locha, and after that the whole thing is a khichdi locha, and these khichdi locha should have some periodic table and the classification system should be there, but we will discuss first with the question, why is decimal system popular? Very fundamental question. The thing is that our human memory is short, it's not very large. Mathematically, it is saying that if human being is rejecting hexadecimal system and taking the decimal system, then the decimal system is popular. That means human mind is not capable enough to handle 60 symbols and their orderliness, so they rejected hexadecimal system. And when human being tried to take care on the hexadecimal system, that is the base 60 system, that is confined within the clock, and it is confined in the system where the things are periodic, just it repeats 60, the modular functions as the Gauss designed it for the modular arithmetic. If human mind could handle 6000 base, then they would use 6000 base. They preferred base 10 because human mind could not memorize 6000 symbols ordering. Here is the problem of subjectivity. Human beings use subjectivity just because human memory and human's cognitive load cannot handle more than 10 symbols, and the orderliness of more number of symbols. And China is growing, Japan is growing just because their alphabetical systems and their sentential systems enforces them to memorize lots of symbols and the cuteness and the orderliness of so large number of symbols there. Whatever the growth happened in Europe or whatever the growth is happened in West, all of the things are less memory creatures using the decimal systems, and only a few things to remember, that is 0 is nothing and it's a placeholder. 0 is less than 1, 1 is less than 2, 2 is less than 3, 3 is less than 4, 4 is less than 5, 5 is less than 6, 6 is less than 7, 7 is less than 8, 8 is less than 9, 9 is less than just the 10, and to get the mental comfort. This mental comfort is the problem of everything. China will grow, Japan will grow every time and sustainably grow because the basic architecture is that they remember and memorize more than 3000 such alphabets. 0 is also alphabet, 1 is also alphabet, 2 is also alphabet. These are just symbols. A, B, C, D to 26. These are just symbols. And only 26 alphabet can write any English word. That is not smartness. That is reducing the memory capability. That is reducing the cognitive capability of keeping multiple orderliness within the mind. That is the Sriti versus Shruti war. That is the use of writing systems to memorizing systems. Indian philosophy used to use the memorizing, the Sriti and Shruti, and the world was more ethical, more sustainable, because when you are using your memory for orderliness, then the world becomes more sustainable, because you are using a large lookup set within your mind, and that mind is calculating everything within the mind, not wasting too much of natural resources, but doing a lots of things within mind. And even you don't use that part of mind, you are consuming the same amount of food, and you are doing same amount of effort, and you are destroying same amount of energy in the nature. Suppose you are wasting 60 kilogram of food for your body and mind together, and within the 60 kilogram of food, you are memorizing also, you are calculating also, you are sensing also with your memory and mind, and that is actually not wasting one more kg from the natural resources. But when you cannot memorize the things, you are preparing papers, you are preparing pens, you are preparing transportation systems, the supply chain, and the whole the things, and all the things are putting the carbon footprint on the world. Just try to understand our human conventions, our human languages, our human ways to put load on our own cognitions is actually saving the earth. And when we are not doing that and putting ourselves into the decimal system and trying to do everything with the pens and papers, and then competing with the competitors with the calculation systems, I repeat, Sanjoy Nath is saying that Sanjoy Nath is not talking about capitalism or socialism or these kind of things. Sanjoy Nath is trying to say, in a simple word, the 60 kg of food that you are consuming, you can do lots of things more without wasting pen and paper, and you can do all more things with only with the same food within the body, and channelizing your own energy into your mind, into your brain. That will not going to add any additional carbon footprint to the world. But the moment you are trying to release the cognitive load from your mind and putting that cognitive load to the pens and papers, that is actually non-sustainable development. So decimal system was successful because we are reducing our memorizing load, we are reducing our cognitive load, and that additional load is going to force nature to supply alternative carbon footprints, and that is against nature. The moment you will cognate and resonate with your mind, you will not get time to make your partner happy. When you will not add the load on nature, you will not get the time to nurture your ego. The moment you will consume the same amount of food and same amount of resources from the nature, but doing more work on your mind to cognate and resonate, that will reduce carbon footprint. Decimal system is the culprit. Decimal system gives you the space to keep only 10 symbols in your mind, 0 to 9, and you are trying to play everything with 0 to 9, and then that is not keeping your brain and mind busy to cognate and resonate, and the excess capacity of brain is going to destroy the earth. And human mind is not focusing on that part and talking the bullshit about the sustainable development. Ultimately, the sustainable development is never going to happen with the decimal system. Now, if we try to increase our memory capacity, if we try to increase our capacity to keep the 3000 to 6000 symbols in our mind and their orderliness, then we don't have to eat more food. Our body will get accustomed and evolve to keep more symbols in mind, and that orders of those symbols can help our mind to cognate and resonate with more number of ordered symbols, and that will actually reduce the load on the nature. Here the game starts, which is the power of Qhenomenology reasoning system and Whenomenology reasoning system, with which we will mathematically prove, objectively we will show the world that how we can achieve the sustainable development without consuming more food, but our development will grow. Our development is not to construct more bridges. Our development is not to construct more number of factories. Our development is not to prepare the world for more number of employments with more number of salaries, but the real sustainable development as per Sanjoy geometry, fine trigonometry and Qhenomenology reasoning systems with the Whenomenology reasoning systems is to prove that improve our mind power to memorize more, not only to memorize more number of symbols, but to memorize the orders of those symbols. Suppose if we don't confine ourselves to 26 alphabets, and if we don't confine ourselves within the 10 symbols, and if we start keeping our mind active to memorize, suppose 6000 symbols and 38,000 number of alphabets and the orders of them all, that will not going to add more food consumption to our body, but our mind will get practiced to handle all such things, and that will actually reduce the carbon footprint. You will say, what a tough task that I am putting on the world. The same kind of question I can ask you. If a doctor is a doctor and he cannot save the cancer without stopping the cigarette consumption rate of that patient, then what kind of doctor is he? The doctor has to save the cancer patient even if that person is smoking. If the doctor cannot do that, then he is not a doctor. In the same way, if you cannot put the load on your mind, then don't talk about the sustainable development. It is impossible. Now, comes here the dictionary as the classes. The words in the dictionary are treated as the classes like the C++ classes and refer Bertrand Russell's type theory, where one type and the second type, the type casting is necessary, and the computer programmers always know these kind of things, and even in the automated proof systems, the proof assistants also follow the typed systems, the homotopy type theory, the type theory, COQ, Haskell, all these kind of things also follow these kind of type mismatch errors as the proof errors, the Curry-Howard correspondences, and those things also talk about these kind of things. The Turing Church thesis also talk about these kind of things. The Chomsky hierarchy also talk about these kind of things. Now, the classes talk with the classes. The objects of the classes talks about these classes. Why is Sanjoy Nath talking about the dictionary as the classes here? Because suppose the dictionary has the first column which has the unique words list, and the second column has the meaning. The second column has several words which discuss several unique words, and those words are the concepts, and those concepts are used conglomeratively to describe the word on the column number 1. These words, unique words which are there in the column number 2, are also the instance variables of certain classes, and those classes are also described in the column number 1. So if we prepare our dictionary in the order of compilation, the class C1 is compiled before class C2 if class C2 use the instance of class C1. If class C3 is using the class C1 and C2 instances, then C3 can come in the third position. In this way, we have to arrange the dictionary, not in the lexicographic order. Qhenomenology reasoning system is not Whenomenology reasoning system. Qhenomenology reasoning system is the ordinal system, not the cardinal system. Qhenomenology reasoning system works on the ordinalness, not the cardinalness. This ordinalness, you can refer the Tarski ordinal arithmetic and cardinal arithmetic for these kind of reasoning systems. If you don't know the Tarski systems, then you can feel it is a tough thing. Okay, in this video we will show you some glimpses of these kind of things there, such that you will understand the seriousness of this subject. Now, the dictionary is the classes, and which is a class hierarchy, and with this hierarchy the definitions of the classes are done, and polysemy is not allowed, because the calculus is successful because there is no polysemy. Strict note: calculus has the one-to-one mapping between the x and the y. Y equal to fx. When we say that y equal to fx, that means for one value of x there is only one value of y. If there is for more number of y for one value of x, then calculus is failure. Strict note. And calculus is successful, that proves that our language is failure. Our language is failure because one-to-many relationship, that is the polysemy, is still existing there. The first step for the United Nations meeting for the sustainable development is that Sanjoy Nath claims here that first prepare zero polysemy world, otherwise your talks about the sustainable development is just a bullshit. Should I repeat? I think it's a very serious issue. Now, it comes the static verification. The static verification means Nath proposes a compiler-like system to identify reasoning errors as the compilation errors. If your class hierarchy is wrong, then your reasoning is wrong entirely. That means on Monday you are saying 0 is greater than 33, and Tuesday you are saying that 0 is less than 6. This is the compilation error. You cannot mismatch the compilation order. Strict note: if you are doing that, you are not fighting against Sanjoy Nath. You are fighting against nature. You are fighting against sustainability. Strict note that. Now comes the static verification, where this ensuring the logical consistency. Logical consistency saves a lot of things. You don't have the ego problem. You don't have the emotion problem. You will not face the excess petrol expenditure to prove that you love your girlfriend. All these things will get solved. You will not have to run with the convoy to get the vote bank. This carbon footprint will get saved. You will not have to fight with the neighboring countries to prove that you are superior, when this logical consistency will remain as the objective. Will any country, will any nation fight with another nation just to prove that 3 plus 3 is not equal to 6? Will you ever fight with this cause? No, na? Just because the objective things stops the war. Subjective things causes the war. So, to save the nature, you have to become objective. Either you follow objectivity or you destroy the nature. Don't talk the bullshits in between. If you are not objective, you are destroying the nature, and then your funds for saving the nature is just the talks of bullshits. Now come here the applications. The framework extends to various fields, including a unique theory on the wave physics, and that avoids the sign cosine. That is for the different video. We will talk in different video regarding the wave physics on the Qhenomenology. Related framework. Qhenomenology is often discussed alongside with the Whenomenology with a W, a complementary framework that uses a historical date like the Google Ngrams or the culturonomics and to analyze, and the econophysics also, and to analyze the timeline and the social adoption of the concepts and myths. Social adoptions. Here comes the economic predictions. Here is a good example. Suppose in 1995 to 2008, as per Sanjoy Nath's experience, we have seen that people were too much interested to update Windows, Microsoft Windows, and people were not interested too much to update the Android phone or the Android versions. People were not too much interested to update the Google. People were interested with updation of the Microsoft, because there were several fatal errors, there were several disturbances while using the CAD softwares, while using the words, while using the Excel. The features were coming and the features were interesting, and people were trying to get more kind of things from the computers. These are all the talks about the examples. Now see, there are certain quantized states of our context of the mankind. First comes the necessity. That is the barrier point. That is the point of discussion. After necessity is completed, then comes the sufficiency. Necessary and sufficient. Some features below necessary, then the features are increasing, the concepts are increasing, and it crosses the necessary limit. After that, it is between the necessary to sufficiency. There is a quantized region in the timeline and on the number line where the necessary to sufficiency is there. After the sufficiency crosses, then a point comes where it is a satisfactory. Okay, after 2008 or 2011, we have seen that Windows features are sufficient, and human being is not capable enough to uh, consume more features at that time. But Microsoft is supplying the more features and more features and more features, and Say's law has a problem. Why Sanjoy Nath says here that Say's law has a problem? Okay, the open challenge to the Say's law comes from Sanjoy Nath's Qhenomenology and the Whenomenology. Human brain and human mind, the human neural system, works with a Pythagorean note system with the Saregama Padanisa. Okay, 7 notes or either 22 notes. Can human handle 3000 notes right now? If human mind is not capable to handle 3000 notes, can you sell any digital audio workstation which can handle 3000 notes? Human mind is not ready to consume that. If the human mind is not ready to consume that, will they purchase that from you? First, try to prepare human mind to consume more. If the human mind is not prepared to consume more, if the human mind is not prepared to get more curious, then why will human mind take interest? And if the interest word is not there, how can you define interest rate? And if you cannot define interest rate, can you define banking? If the interest, the origin and evolution of the term interest is very important. If there is zero curiosity, if there is zero hope, if there is zero intention, can you expect that there is the possibility of interest? Lord Keynes asked about the liquidity trap. Sanjoy Nath is claiming here there is the interest trap, there is the curiosity trap, there is the consumption trap, the concept adaptation trap. We are living in the scenario where we are living in the adaptation trap, adoption trap. We are not getting curious enough to purchase new updates from Microsoft. We are not getting curious enough to purchase more updates from Google. So the whole business and the sustainable development depends upon the human's curiosity upliftment. If you cannot uplift the human curiosity, you cannot expect that human will pay the interest for the new business. And if there is no interest, there is no hope. If there is no interest, there is no chance to get the interest rate. There is no term called the curiosity rate. There is no term called the hope rate. There is no term called the wish rate. You have made the system of the interest rate, and that cannot carry forward for very long time. So sustainable development will work only and only when you will work with the Qhenomenology reasoning system seriously, when you will work with the Whenomenology reasoning systems seriously. Whenomenology reasoning system answers the human's adaptation or adoption or consumption of new concepts. Suppose if Pythagoras used a term called selfie, and mobile phone is not there, front camera is not there, back camera is not there, how would Alexander understand the term selfie? Answer this first. You cannot expect the term selfie before mobile phone is becoming interesting thing to the mankind. Everything has a sequence, everything has a queue. If you don't prepare the queue, if you don't understand the queue properly, you cannot define sustainable development in this world, and that you have to understand very clearly first. Sanjoy Nath's crystal clear message in this video is that try to make people more curious, try to make people more memory load interested, try to make the world more competitive with their cognitive abilities, try to make the world to compete with each other with the creativities and curiosities. If the creativity and curiosity are not going to increase, interest will not increase, and if interest don't increase, interest rate will not increase, banking will fail, the futuristic hope will fail, and ultimately even you go for the war, even you will try to solve the problems with the surface level, with the shallow solutions of the politics or the wars, or with the fear games, that is not going to help the world. And in the next video we will talk in detail with the Ngrams data, and we have collected lots of data with the Ngrams and the other databases from the culturomics, and we will discuss about all these kind of graphs and human minds and the human cultures as the RLC circuits. We will talk. There are thousands of videos going to come on the phenomenology reasoning system and phenomenology reasoning systems, and these are the prescriptions to save the earth. You have to take the things very seriously right now.